What is up, guys? DT Ninja here to you guys my RuroKen Hokkaido Arc Chapter 61 review. Alright, guys, I have finished the English translation for this chapter. I've edited and worked on it. So now we're here to discuss what happened in the chapter. I've got the magazine scans here. So we're going to look through the chapter. As you guys know, Hokkaido was on hiatus for a while, so finally, the story resumed. The author's health has gotten a little better. There is no chapter this month, so the next chapter will be in September. But yeah, I'm glad this chapter, a lot of things happen. The plot progresses. And yeah, so there's a lot of text, so I'm not going to translate everything. I'm just going to give you my take on everything and what things I noticed throughout and what are the implications moving forward. So let's take a look at the chapter. So we open up and it says the Ikitozen, their abilities are revealed. Ikitozen refers to these Kinkaku Heki of Doi Mogura, and her battle style is graboids. You can see her fighting spirit, which Itakura only sees as the Buddhist mother. You see here Gongu and his fighting spirit, like that creepy looking catfish. And then his fighting spirit is Gishin Anki, which is deceptive shadows. And then, of course, Itakura himself and his battle style is Fudo Todo, immovable freezing, where he can turn his body into ice. So, like I said, I'm not going to translate everything, but I will when I feel it's necessary. And yeah, so let's get to it. All right, the double page title page is pretty neat. You have Kenshin facing off against Itakura. You can see Kenshin there, and Kenshin's there, and Itakura here. Itakura is on top of the mountain. Behind Kenshin is Sojiro. To the side, we have Gongu and Ashitaro. And then behind them, you can see the spiky hair of Cho and Kamatari here. Now, next to them is another shadow, which is interesting because in the previous chapter, there was no shadow there. So this is actually foreshadowing for the Kinkaku Heki Amachi coming back. Now, obviously, in this chapter, we learned that he's still alive and he's gasping for air. So I think that's foreshadowing for that to happen. Pretty neat. And then, of course, you have Sano and Anji here and Nagakura and Doi. So, like, if you look back at chapter 60, you'll see there are 11 shadows, but there's 12 characters focused, and Amachi is one of them, but you don't actually see his shadow. But here you see his shadow kind of on Kenshin's head where the rocks are and where Cho and Kamatari are. And you'll see in page 10 where I mentioned that, I'll kind of reference that back. Okay, so the chapter is called Direct Negotiations. We kind of get this scene where Nagakura points out to Kenshin that the army is retreating. So this massacre that Kenshin thought that would happen has been averted. I do like the fact that we see the rubble from where you see the gates where the open air prison where Itakura was being held there is still, the ruins from it. I do like that. We also see the army and the fake Yamagata. He's really pissed off, but they're alive. They're just injured and battered, and they're surrendering. Basically, they're leaving. Gongu mentions that they have no will to fight left, and now they at least understand them a little bit. And we see this flashback of Itakura basically saying, "You don't understand us." The next one, this one is more where Itakura is like, we must fight. So he's basically saying we have to fight and we're going to continue the fight to the death. And Sano says, bring it on, freezing bastard. Pretty funny. I'm just getting warmed up. And then Anji's more kind of like, we can't be on the defensive, even though we've been on the defensive. We can no longer be on the defensive. Kamatari's like, we got this. I got this. You gave me this blood makeup. I'm gonna return the favor. Cho is more pissed off at Gongu and says he's gonna smash his sword. Ashitaro's more indifferent. He's like, if we're going to fight, just get on with it. Nagakura's like, I guess I have no choice. But Sojiro, this is where things get interesting. Sojiro says, I'm not too keen on it, but I'll go with my trump card. Yes, guys, a trump card. So Sojiro Seita, as you guys know, has been in the Hokkaido Arc since chapter 11. He faced off against Nagakura. It kind of ended in a draw, but honestly, Nagakura got the better of him, really. He immobilized him. He did face off against Itakura and failed, but he used a Shuten Satsu, which was a big failure. So to say that he's got a trump card, this is an interesting development. What is this trump card that he's talking about? Look at the confidence in the eyes. So I do feel that there is something that he has. What did he learn while in Hokkaido? He's been there for a while. He's been traveling. He's been, kind of wandering through Hokkaido. So maybe he has learned something. What is it that he learned? I kind of came up with this theory that maybe he came across someone and they taught him something, maybe a defense. I don't know, because it seems like his ability really doesn't depend much on defense because, he's so fast with his Shikuchi and everything. But what if he came across Koshijiro? Because we know Koshijiro has not currently been shown in the story. Of course, in the backstory with Itakura, we saw him, but that was the past. This is the current day where we have yet to see, Koshijiro, Kaoru's father. So that would be an interesting way to bring Kaoru's father into the story. Also, it would help develop Sojiro. It would bring him closer to Kenshin as well. So that's a very interesting kind of take on what I think that may be the trump card, something defensive, a defense technique, or maybe, like I said, he met someone while on his journey. What do you guys think his trump card could be? I do think that he did meet someone, but meeting Koshijiro, that would be a very interesting turn of events. Okay, Kenshin says, wait, we've kind of averted the disaster. Do we really need to fight? Itakura says, yeah, all of you have gathered here except Hajime Saito. I do appreciate him mentioning Hajime Saito because that does mean it's important to the story. So that was nice. And he says, you've all gathered here, so we cannot miss this chance. We kind of see his hand you can see the flames, not the flames, the ice chips basically kind of cracking his hands. He's covered in ice, so it's cracking, not flames, ice. But then he's like, why? You don't understand me. I don't understand it. Kenshin points to where Cho and Kamatari is, and this goes back to what I was talking about, the foreshadowing. Kenshin points over there, and look, yes, it's Amachi. Amachi is gasping for air next to Cho, and like I said, it goes back to page 2 and 3, where we see that extra shadow next to Cho and Kamatari. So like I said, that's foreshadowing for the kid being alive. So that was nice. And then Kenshin goes on to explain, we got to get out of here, help the kid out. We see this kind of bat-like creature flying. Obviously, it's Henya. Henya is in the air. I do like the fact that we got the aerial view of the battlefield. That's kind of cool. He says, I got the high ground. This is the perfect chance. He lights the dynamite. And as he does this, the rockets fly up in the air and it goes flying towards him. What I do like about this scene is it shows the enemy's attack. And the enemy's weapon is like a sword blade, kind of makeshift into a grenade. So it's a bomb, kind of like, the bomb of Henya, but instead... the blade is actually part of the grenade. The moment the blade hits, it's going to explode. And that's exactly what happens. So it explodes, it hits Henya. Henya goes down, he loses a wing. But that dynamite is still flying in the air, which is quite interesting. And it ends up next to Itakura. And who shows up? Eiji Mishima. Eiji Mishima fires that dynamite and explodes right in Itakura's face. Kenshin is in shock. We're all in shock. That was an awesome reveal. Itakura returns. Not Itakura, sorry. Mishima returns. And we see this reinforcement of Kinkaku Heki coming to the battlefield. And he says his special technique is called Baku Kakyu, which is the Stellar Blade, 4th grade, and you can see this rocket launcher of his. That's pretty cool, and you see the 4 cylinders in which it was. He's like, the northern skies is my domain. And then we learn his code name is Higo, which I had thought Higo was the commander of Kabato prison, so that's kind of interesting. And then his full name is Tessei Yuhei, and Yuhei actually has kind of the brave and star in it. So star refers to the blade, the stellar blade. So yeah, it goes back to his name. So anyway, Gongu realizes that the others are coming, and the old man Tadakoro shows up behind Sano and Anji. Now what's interesting about this is they turn around and there's nobody there. And the old man shows up behind them again. Wow, did he move around them, or did they just move the wrong way? That's an interesting scene. And Tadakoro is like, okay, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. My name is Tadakoro Rakuro. And then we get the kind of stilts man, the shark teeth. His name is Suden Damanji, and he's the exact opposite of the compassionate Tadakoro, the old man. He basically says, if you move, I'm going to rip you to pieces. And so I thought that was interesting. You kind of got a night and day, compassion, no compassion. So, okay, moving on. We have Ashitaro on the battlefield, and next to him, behind him, shows up, yes, it's the Yaminobu Sako. But somehow he has a cape from Kinkaku Heki, so Ashitaro is like, so you're one of them, right? He's like, you think I'd wear this? So the old woman made him wear the Kinkaku Heki cape, apparently, and he's being forced to fight for the Kinkaku Heki's sake. So he's being traded for 500 bags of gold. He looks kind of pissed off. But I do like the fact that they are bringing back this rivalry that they've had since the first chapter. Remember, he kind of walked into him. He was working at the Akabeko, and then eventually he got the picture from the Yaminobu, and it turned out to be Kaoru's father. And then, and when they come into Hakodate, they fight again. So there is some potential there for Ashitaro. I do think that he's still going to fight Gongu at some point, but Sako, obviously, he's got to fight him first. Now, here's the aftermath of that explosion from Itakura. What I love about this scene is where he just comes through the flames and he's like, so not only do you care about not only do you protect your comrades, but you protect those of the enemy. Like the enemy didn't try to destroy him. I mean, like literally, there's a huge explosion and he walks through it like it's nothing. And then, of course, you can see Nagakura sweating and Anji sweating. He didn't even flinch after being, in that firebomb. Anyways, he moves the fire along as the ice kind of melts the fire. And he says, Fudo Todo, I never show the true essence of it unless you're worthy. You're the best of the best, the fiercest of the fierce, like the Ikitozen. And he says, even in the face of this frost armor, which is what he calls it, you still don't want to kill me. So this is interesting because what he actually is saying is you don't want to fight me at full strength. I showed you my full strength. So why don't you want to fight me at full strength? And he says, even with all my might, I am not worthy in your eyes. And Kenshin goes on to say that's not true. If you want it badly, then fine, Itakura. I will fight you to the death in a time and place of your choosing. This shocks Sojiro, as Kenshin would be breaking his vow. However, then Kenshin lays on some ground rules. He says, you must leave this place. I will not allow any more violence. That is my terms. And then Sano chips in and says, well, what is it going to be, Freezing Man? And then Itakura doesn't look too happy. To me, this part where Kenshin says that he will fight him to the death, I think that means he's finally going to fight him full strength. He doesn't mean he's going to kill him if need be, but he's going to use his full strength. That's what I think. Now, Itakura doesn't look too happy. You can see the flames start to kind of shatter here from the ice. Now, he does mention some metaphors like a married couple. The true purpose of it is to live in harmony. And he also says that your offer makes me sound like a war maniac, but it's the equivalent of a sex addict trying to offer prostitutes. So that was an interesting way of putting it. But yeah, I understand him. What he's saying is that he wants the true Kenshin. It reminds me of Aoshi Shinomori, where Kenshin is fighting him in Kyoto and he's not giving him true Batosai. He's not giving him the full Kenshin. He's kind of holding back. So anyway, the next page we have Itakura says, I'm not interested in winning or losing. I don't care who's stronger, which is interesting. What he actually is after, he wants true acknowledgement. He wants to be truly acknowledged. He wants that praise to come from the depths of his soul. So what he's saying is he wants the best of Kenshin. He wants what Kenshin can do at his best. He doesn't want just a portion of it. Yes, he's shown him the Niju Nana Ryuzen. It's not exactly his best technique, but it is a portion of him, right? But it's not enough to take down Itakura. He hasn't shown him Amakakuro Ryo no Hirameki. He hasn't shown him the full attack. So I do feel Kenshin is holding back, but now what he's really saying is that is what he wants. He wants the full everything. He's shown all of his cards. He wants Kenshin to do the same. So I've heard some people ask me, what is his motivation? To fully understand Itakura's motivation, you got to go back to chapter 17, chapter 18, chapter 19, when he fights Kenshin the first time. It has to do with the fact his own clan kind of deemed him worthless. And ever since, he's been this mad warrior looking for redemption. That is one of the things. Now, he does want that acknowledgement, but that's not the motivation. That is one of the reasons why he fights and is fighting all of these warriors here on the battlefield. Now, Itakura basically says through a battle, you don't have to use the words. And then right as he's about to attack Kenshin, Kenshin's ready for his attack. We see these hands, and he says, that's far enough. And the hands, you can see they're building up with some sort of energy, and they clap together, and you see this huge kind of explosion of power surrounding the entire Goryokaku battlefield, and it catches the eye of everyone, and you can see they're all shocked. And then the ground shakes, it splits open, and basically Kenshin and Itakura's battle halts. And this guy enters and he says, withdraw Itakura, and then we find out it's the head of the Kenkaku Heki, Kanzato Goto. So, yeah, he says our objective has been met. He goes on to thank Kenshin. And then Kenshin asks, what's the objective? He goes on to say that we're here to find the best of the best, worthy of the title Ikitozen, Also, to have a one-on-one meeting with the Minister of Affairs, Yamagata Aratomo. Now, Aratomo Yamagata, of course, this is not the real Aratomo Yamagata. This is a fake Yamagata, just like the fake Yamagata earlier on in the chapter. I think it was 4 or 5. Yeah, this one on the battlefield. So Yamagata is very careful. One of his body doubles died. The other one is on the battlefield. But he goes on to thank Kenshin. I'm grateful to you, Himaru-kun. And he says that since Batosai came to Hokkaido and fought with us, it has made the Meiji government aware of our threat more quickly. And so now we reveal that he has the meeting with Yamagata, and now the real Yamagata has taken action. And we see him having a meeting with Yamagata, not just anywhere. This is at Kenshin's house. So that's the end of the chapter. As you guys can see, the meeting between the two sides, the Meiji government Minister of Affairs and the Kenkaku Heki's head commander, that is a shocking turn of events. Yeah, what was the deal they made? That's an interesting kind of thought. What are they going to do? It kind of makes me wonder, is it similar to what Nagakura kind of proposed to Itakura back in chapter, I think it was 19 or something like that, where he said you can be a part of the Meiji government. So it's an interesting thought. But yeah, also the fact that Kanzato has showed up, I do think there may be some pushback. I think Itakura is not going to listen to reason. He's not going to listen to the head commander and his idea of withdrawing. I do think that maybe there's going to be a battle. Itakura is going to fight against his own clan, maybe. He's got his own agenda. I've said this from the beginning. Since this battle started, I feel Itakura has his own kind of way of doing things. So I don't know. We might get this battle where Itakura is fighting against, other Kenkaku Heki, his own team fighting against Kanzato's team. So anyway, we got a lot of things in this chapter. It was cool to see Kanzato's ability again. Of course, in chapter 9, we saw a glimpse of it, but we weren't sure who he was. So now we fully know who he is. But anyways, some cool stuff. We saw his ability. He's very powerful. So I would like to see kind of Itakura versus Kanzato. Honestly, that would be pretty cool. We might even see Kanzato's team take on Itakura himself. I do like the dynamic where Kenshin and Itakura want to fight, full strength. That is pretty cool. Kenshin declaring that he's going to fight to the death was neat. Mishima showing up, the reinforcements that show up, obviously the trump card of Sojiro. So we got a lot of things in this chapter that were very interesting. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in the next discussion. And the next chapter will be coming September 4th, so stay tuned. Anyways, we'll see you guys in the next one.